Hello and welcome. I'm Aman Mazingo, and this is the AfroTales Podcast, a show that will explore the folklore, tales, myths, and legends of the African diaspora. Today, we have two stories. I like when I have these two-story episodes because they're short stories, but they pack a punch. Today are two why stories: why the pig's snout is so short, and why catfish have no scales. So sit back, relax, and take a listen to the greedy pig and old Nick Diddy. The greedy pig. Take notice that no good ever comes from being greedy, no matter how hungry you feel. And notice too that most troubles began way back during the week when the good Lord was busy creating the world. The fact is, he didn't have anybody to help him except an angel. And it kept him mighty busy mixing that mortar. And when anything went wrong, there wasn't nobody to look after it. Of course, old Nick was there, the devil. But he was the kind that always gets himself and other folks into trouble. Well, when the good Lord made the pig, he made him with a great long nose, like an elephant, so that he could pick up things and put them in his mouth. And he could scratch his own back with the end of that nose, and things like that. But the pig, he had such a big appetite. He was just naturally hungry all the time. And that appetite of his, it got Mr. Pig into trouble right there at the start. And it's been getting him into trouble ever since. You see, the good Lord made the pig on a Friday. And we all know that was an unlucky day to begin with. At that time, the acorns and pumpkins weren't quite ripe yet. And so he didn't have anything to eat until Saturday morning. And he was so hungry by that time that he didn't know what he was going to do next. Well, when they went out on Saturday morning to feed the stock, and they threw some corn over the fence, that Mr. Pig ate the corn with his mouth and fed it in with that long nose so fast that other animals couldn't so much as get a taste of anything. When the good Lord saw the way things were going, he knew that it would never do. So he reached over the fence and picked up that pig by the middle of his back and laid him on the block. Took a hatchet, he chopped that nose square up close to his mouth. Then he turned him loose and told him he had to root for his living the rest of his life. And that's how his nose come to be square across the end, like nobody else's. But if you ever had your nose cut off, you know it hurts mighty bad. And when Mr. Pig begins to root with that squared off nose of his, it hurts so bad. So much that he can't help but grunt. And he's been grunting ever since. And every time you scratch Mr. Pig on his back, that just reminds him of the time he had a long nose to scratch his own back. And he didn't have to work so hard to get a living. and that makes him grunt even harder. But the pig, oh, he hasn't ever quit being greedy. The end. Old Nick did it. When the devil gets a good hold of you, he's bound to leave his mark on you. And what's more, he'll leave that mark on your children and your grandchildren. And that's the way it was with the catfish. If he had kept out of the devil's hands, he'd been okay. A whole lot better looking than he is now. And so would his children. You've noticed that catfish don't have any scales like other fish. But he hasn't always been that way. It happened more or less like this here. It was a Friday morning, and we know that Fridays ain't good days. Anyway, the good Lord created the fish, and when he turned them all loose in the river, mighty fine sight it was. I tell you, there wasn't any more handsomer fish in the crowd than the catfish. He was all covered with red and yellow and blue scales according to the kind of catfish he was. Something similar to them Japanese koi fish, what they call them. Something similar to them. But he was one of the finest fish in the river. Well, the good Lord created all the different kinds of fish in the forenoon. And he set out to make all the chickens and turkeys and geese in the afternoon. When it comes supper time, he put away his tools and locked the door and put the key in his pocket and went along up to the big house like he normally do to get something to eat. After dinner, the good Lord and the angels were walking along back down the big road, picked their teeth like they tend to do, and talking about whether they ought to make birds with scales like the fish or with feathers. Either way, they figure it out later. Who did they bump into by the side of the road but good old Nick? And I use good loosely. And he was scraping the scales off some catfish he had just caught. And the good Lord said, "Look here, Nick. What in the name of common sense are you doing with those fish?" And old Nick said, "Well, I noticed it was Friday. I thought I'd just have a fine fish dinner. And so when I saw how crowded the fish were in the river, I thought I would sort of help matters if I just thin them out a bit. So I reached out and grabbed a few of the catfish, and they were handiest, and I was just getting them ready to fry when you came along. Is that a problem?" And the good Lord came right back. "Well, first of all, yes, it is a problem. Look here. You just put those fish back in the water and go on about your business. You trifling, good for nothing, rapscallion." Well, good old Nick, and I use good loosely, put all the fish back in the water. Now, where scales had been scraped off, it hurt, you can imagine. So the catfish went down to the bottom and rolled over in the mud to try to do something about the pain. By and by, it helped just fine and the pain went away. But the scales, for some reason, never grew back. And from that time to this, every catfish has not had scales. And that's what makes me tell you, you better always keep out of reach of the devil. Because if you don't, he'll make trouble for you and all your kinfolks. The end. Wow. The greedy pig and old Nick did it, right? Okay. Old Nick probably influenced the greedy pig to be so greedy, you think? I don't know. But in the second one, I really can't fault old Nick. Like, he was like, yo, y'all got a whole bunch of fish in here. Psst, why not let me barbecue some? God over here and the angel can't have no barbecue. Can't have no fried fish. I don't know. It's kind of messed up, but whatever. But yeah, so what did we take from the stories? I think the first one, the greedy pig, just shows us that we can really lose our blessings being too greedy. And I'm not saying that, as far as being too greedy, like, oh, you're working harder to get more blessings. No, just when you get a blessing and you get a blessing that can benefit others as well as yourself, but you don't spread that wealth. Some wealth you get is for you, and we know that. But like the pig, like, yeah, you got this long nose and it helps you eat and everything like that, but this food is for all of us, and you're taking it all for yourself. You're being greedy. That's not cool. So the big guy upstairs says, I can fix that. Chop. Now you got to scrounge just like everybody else. Instead of getting that blessing or just sharing in the opportunity of a blessing that you could have given to everybody. You could have let it be known to everybody. I think about people like that come up on certain stuff and you ask them how they did it or how they found the knowledge, or you don't, not necessarily, hey, put me on, but okay, where do I go to get it? And they sit there and be like, I ain't telling you how I got it. You got to figure it out yourself type, stuff. You know people like that. And, well, okay, you know what? I will figure it out myself. And then all of a sudden you see that person doing bad. It's like, yep, that's because you were being greedy. You was the greedy pig at that point. You feel me? So, I don't know. People are going to take what they want from that story. And they can apply it to their lives how they feel. Now, like I said, the second story, Old Nick did it. I just enjoyed that story. It was fun. It was funny to me. And because I think it's funny because I know a lot of ethnic people, because I have a wide audience, I want to say ethnic people, that love catfish. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of catfish. I'll eat it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. And I know a lot of people that talk about it being such a bottom feeder fish and everything like that. But this gives a reason on why is at the bottom. Why is at the bottom, like, yeah, old Nick over here scraping me up. He ain't scraped the rest of y'all up. He just scraped me up. Like, I'm in pain. We chilling down here. We ain't gonna be at the top of the boat. People like getting stuff that's at the top, But I don't have like a real lesson to get from this story. I think this is just a fun story as to why they are the way they are. Maybe they're too beautiful. Maybe the lesson is don't show off your beauty too much because somebody will take it. Somebody will try to take it at least. Like I said, the description that they gave of the fish and how beautiful they were, really the koi fish of Japan, most people know what koi fish are. the koi fish are what popped into my head, and I was like, yeah, I can see koi fish being a type of catfish. They look to me, you know, similar to just, you know, smaller catfish. That's just my personal preference, my personal observation. But yeah, the second story was just a fun story, and I like it. I like these type of stories. Sometimes I like just telling a fun story. No real message in it, just a fun. I mean, you can find a message in any story, but you know. But thank you, thank you for taking a listen. Thank you for hearing my story, and we're gonna be getting into some darker stories soon. So be here for it. Be here for it. They are very interesting stories. Be here. All right. Thank you, and have a wonderful and great day. Thank you for your time. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or iTunes, or wherever you may listen to podcasts. You may also find us on Instagram and Facebook at AfroTalesPodcast, all one word, or on Twitter at AfroTalesCast. Please share, comment, like, leave a rating so others may find us just as you have. Again, I'm Amon Mazingo. This is Afro Tales Podcast, and until next time, have a great day.